It's time for one of the more interesting hosted competitions here on the iRacing service. Every month, a bunch of dudes get together, have a drink, and have a race. It's 4 Drink Friday here live on the Global SimRacing Channel today, racing the Nissan GTP ZX Turbo at the Chicago Street Circuit. Here on GSRC, I'm Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box is Andrew Cardinale. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Chicago Street Circuit was one of the more interesting tracks to debut on the iRacing service in the last couple of years, created by iRacing for the NASCAR Cup Series in the virtual world before it came to the real world. Let's check it out with the track guide.
Welcome to the Chicago Street Circuit. NASCAR and iRacing teamed up to create a virtual street course made from real-world scan data of the Midwest's most famous city avenues. Sat right in the middle of skyscrapers, monuments, museums, and Lake Michigan, it's perhaps one of the most picturesque tracks on the service. It clocks in at a little over 2 miles in length, which is about 3.5 kilometers, and includes 12 turns dispersed around it. The shape of the track might look simple, but tackling it is anything but. The turn from Lakeshore onto Roosevelt will be a fast and narrow single-file affair that tightens up on the exit. And the arc around Congress Plaza Drive forces drivers to feather the throttle while hugging the inside wall as tightly as they can. Expect most passes to be attempted on the turn into Balbo at either the first corner or turn 6. However, both have zero runoff, which means outbraking yourself will likely end your day prematurely. In general, the bumpy nature of the circuit and the closeness of the punishing walls means that survival is probably going to be the name of the game for most drivers. In the world of sim racing, we have unique opportunities to make our dreams into reality, and iRacing and NASCAR have done just that.
Well, Andrew, this is certainly an interesting choice of car and track. Quite the difficulty for the drivers out there. The Chicago Street Circuit is pretty simple from the air, but it's anything but on the ground.
Just like any street circuit or any city grid, I guess. There's a lot of 90-degree corners, and definitely one of the more lackluster looking track maps, but as you say, there's a lot of nuance, a lot of hidden gems, I feel like, in terms of corners, and there's no easy part of this racetrack aside from maybe the straightaways, and even then there's so many bumps on these particular streets, these particular roads, that especially in this car with very little suspension travel, there's really no calm point in time where you can catch your breath and grab a drink in these guys' cases.
Yeah, absolutely not. Of course, the big thing about 4 Drink Friday is that you have to stop on the track in order to take your drink. And of course, it's in the name. 4 drinks is what you have to take. 4 12-ounce beverages over the course of a 40-minute race. Setups are fixed and damage is off. So even if there's a big prang out there, the drivers won't have their race ended. We also have 4 designated drivers in the session tonight. And if you're a designated driver and you're not drinking, that means that you have to take your penalties another way. You've got to tour through the pits and take a stop-and-go penalty. That number has been set to 6 stop-and-go penalties for designated drivers here at Chicago, I think largely due to the pace of the car. But I think lap times are still going to be high here, Andrew, considering how much everyone's crashing.
Yeah, I took some laps in the test drive feature on iRacing. It's definitely an interesting combo through the carousel portion, is that what you want to call it? I forget the street name, where it's just kind of a continuous left bend. We're coming up to it, I think, in a moment. It's really, it just shakes your entire screen. So guys in VR might have a leg up. I don't think it's going to shake quite as bad. Maybe it will. I don't know. But there is just so much shaking so many bumps around this course. And of course, again, with this car, it's so touchy. It's like a cheese wedge with wheels. It's going to get upset on every single one of those bumps. You're going to feel every single one. I fear for the guys that are in motion rigs tonight, especially. This is going to be a very, very challenging combo for these guys. And new tires, once they break them in, start to get some temperature built up, it's going to feel grippy for a lap or so, and then that's going to go away. It's going to eat these tires up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to talk about ground effect, well, this car is the epitome of ground effect aerodynamics. It's got Venturi tunnels going all along the floor of the car, a massive rear diffuser. Through corners, this car is among the fastest on the iRacing surface. It generates that much downforce. A GTP car from the mid-1980s, and it's got a V6 turbo engine as well, which means they got to deal with turbo lag as well. At low revs, you can stamp on the throttle, but as soon as you hear the whistle of the turbo, Andrew, you better lift off, otherwise you'll spin.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of kick when that turbo finally kicks in, but if you're able to get through it, especially, again, applying power in all of these bumps is a challenge, but if you can just get through that initial point of all the bumps, trying to get power down, and then the turbo kicking in, there is a lot of speed to be found, and if you can just, of course, kind of ease your way through these corners, there's a couple of spots that are sneaky where if you could just keep momentum up, you're really going to find some time on everybody you're racing with, and especially in a field this tightly packed in qualifying. There's one outlier, Pat LaBrosse, but everybody else is within a couple of seconds, it looks like. If you can find any tenths in any single corner, that's going to help you a bunch as far as this race goes.
Yeah, certainly. Well, at the moment, yes, Pat LaBrosse 2.3 seconds ahead of everyone else right now. But Henk Donk is making his way to the end of a lap here. Hopefully that wasn't a 0x that he picked up on his way through. Improvement for BJ Fulton up to third. Meanwhile, that's a 1 minute 17.4 for Henk Donk. Unfortunately, it does not count. He did hit the wall on the course of that lap. Unfortunately, it was going to be an improvement, and I think that's a very appropriate livery to be running, a Jaeger livery for this 4-Drink Friday.
I think there's definitely a couple of guys that are very much playing the part. You got your Jägermeister, Hank Donk machine. I think I saw somebody out there. Yeah, Matthew Hollander on a Budweiser paint scheme, car number 69. I mean, these guys definitely play the part. You've got a Miller Genuine Draft number 12 for Josh Jaburek, even though it looks like he's one of our designated drivers in the field. Currently fourth in qualifying, and this is certainly one of the more unique groups of drivers you'll find. I love that they embrace these unique car combinations. I recall race 1 of this season, we took Pro 2 light trucks out to, or it might have been Pro 2 trucks full. Regardless, Pro 2 trucks out to Laguna Seca, and they had a blast. I mean, this is just one of the more unique situations in general as far as league racing. We'd love to have it.
Yeah, me too. I was here for the previous round of the series as well when they took the MX-5 Cup out to Oschersleben. And, I mean, you can't get more different from that car track combo than this one. Going from a relatively slow club racing car around a track with plenty of runoff and flat curbs to a concrete jungle with walls close at all times in a 1980s sports car that produces something to the tune of 700 horsepower when it's at full chat. It really is amazing, and I think it'll show the versatility of the drivers as well.
And we're certainly seeing some demanding qualities from this car. AJ Roper not able to get a clean lap in just yet, despite being on lap 3 technically. John Collins would be on lap 7. He doesn't have a clean lap in. These guys are definitely finding their struggles. Of course, some drivers are finding fewer struggles. Is right on board with BJ Fulton for, I believe, turn number 5. Oh, that's 6. 6, then 7, 8, 9. Anyways, there's definitely going to be maybe calamity that opening lap. We have so many cars tightly packed in the middle of this field. It's going to demand a lot from these guys in terms of not only getting around the racetrack, but also getting around each other.
Yeah, indeed. And recalling last round at Oschersleben, when they started the race, it's a standing start in this series, I think half the field or thereabouts actually didn't get rolling on the start because they decided to take their first drink right at the start of the race. Fulton improving to second there. 1 minute 16.7, still nowhere close to Pat Labrosse. And AJ Roper spinning out of the final corner. That is the end of qualifying, so will not get an improvement in there. No lap time for AJ Roper and John Collins. Interestingly, they're two of the drivers who are not drinking tonight. Let's see who finishes a lap here in the dying moments. The Gulf liveried car of Josh Jaborek, currently fourth at the moment. What he needs is something to the tune of 4/10 to overcome Lance Keltner for third on the grid.
And these last moments, once you go into overtime, I guess, as far as the session, are always so tense for the guys that are still on the racetrack. They know the last one's out there. There's nobody else. Usually, they don't have any reference cars ahead of them. So for Josh Jaborek here, it's, again, one of those tense moments trying to get around the track. No pressure, Josh. Don't wad it up or anything these last couple of corners. You also can't hit a wall, and on a street circuit, that's tough to do.
Yeah, well, it looks like he's managed to keep it out of the walls for the most part. Excuse me. Out of the final corner he comes. Is this going to be the improvement that Josh Jaborek is looking for? No, it is not. He is 1.6 seconds off his fastest time. But that's going to bring things to an end. It seems like Jaborek is the only car out on track at the moment, and I mean, he'll try and get as much track time as he possibly can before the session officially comes to a close. There is a grace period for drivers to finish their laps after the clock hits 0, and any extra track time you can get will certainly count for when things get to the race. You will have to stop 4 times to take a drink, or go through the pits and stop in your box 6 times if you're a designated driver, but any time you can make up when you're moving is certainly going to be an advantage. Well, that brings it to an end, and this is your grid. Pat Labrosse and BJ Fulton are your front row. Lance Keltner and Josh Jaborek, the first 2 of our designated drivers, 3rd and 4th. Row 3 is going to be Ben Shout. He's sharing it with Matthew Hollander. Mark Rondeau and Henk Donk on row 4, with Luke Patrick and Corey Godwin rounding out the top 10. 3 more cars here. Larry Haase in 11th spot, with AJ Roper and John Collins rounding out our 13-car grid for this round of 4 Drink Fridays. Now, a standing start in these cars, Andrew, with the amount of turbo lag this car has and the sheer amount of power it has. It's going to be interesting for drivers who choose to get off the line instantly, but I would assume that a good portion of these guys are going to stop instantly and take their first drink.
Yeah, standing start is a bold choice. Just quickly, before we go green, I want to go back to the fact you were talking about just time on the racetrack there in qualifying. It is worth noting Josh Jaborek had the most laps out of anybody in the session, 14. 14 laps, that's a lot.
Well, the revs rise and we go green, and it looks like Pat Labrosse is going to get away. Lance Keltner, BJ Fulton instantly stopping, but at the back of the grid, they are all stopping, and looks to me like, oh dear, that's a big problem. Yeah, fortunately damage is off, so Henk Donk, Matthew Hollander, and John Collins won't lose much, and wow, someone went straight on into the barrier at turn 1. Larry Haase, he just forgot to brake.
Yeah, he went careening off into the barrier. I don't know what was going on there. It looked like John Collins got deep into another orange car. For a second, I thought they were teammates. Anyways, they get away from turn 1. Everybody is getting on with their first lap. And, oh, John Collins actually just hit a wall pretty hard again.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of the drivers are having issues getting started here. So we will see how many of these guys end up taking their first stop early on, at least those who got off the line. At the moment, it looks like Rondo, Godwin, Patrick, and Fulton, as well as Hollander, have taken their first drinks. Ooh, that's our leader, Pat Labrosse, our former leader now, falling down to 4th. Looks like he's had a big off at turn 11.
Yeah, pole sitter with some troubles. We'll take a replay, take a look at what happened to him. This is coming through turn 8, turn 9, this long sweeping left-hander, turn 10, kind of sweeps you back through this McDonald's drive-through section, and through there, he just got completely messed up on the bumps into the tire barrier at turn number 11. Thankfully able to get back going pretty quickly, didn't lose too much. He's third across the line, beginning a new lap as they fire down to turns 4 and 5. This is a very tricky Xfinity drive-through section. I don't think Xfinity has drive-throughs, but it works.
Yeah, of course. Oh dear, we're looking very close here between Labrosse and Ben Shout, who's one of our designated drivers here tonight, and looks like AJ Roper has gone for a big stop on track. He is spun. He's a designated driver. He's not going to be taking any drinks here, but we'll see here if Pat Labrosse can get by, and he certainly can. Really, that's the only way you can pass people at this circuit, is if they make a mistake in front of you.
Using turn 7 and 8 to his advantage that time, kind of the mirror opposite of where he got in trouble last lap. As we take a look back at a replay, this is going to be Ben Shout in the third spot. This is him getting passed then by Labrosse, and this, again, Labrosse using the opposite of where he just got in trouble to his advantage to take that spot away. It helps when the driver you're passing gets into the wall.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, a little bit deep. And away he goes. That is not the speed you should be going through the pits. Ben Shout, I think, trying to lose as little time as possible on that stop and go. That's the first that he's taken of his 6. And it looks to me like BJ Fulton has already taken 3 drinks. That's certainly going to inebriate him something fierce.
I think for some of these guys, this might be a little bit outside of their usual wheelhouse. That might help them cope with the car-track combo and get through this a little more quickly. BJ Fulton might be one of them in his Ferrari chain scheme. And, that's not the usual orientation for a race car.
No, it is not. Larry
Tires should
Haase.
be on the track.
Yes, so how did this happen to him? Turn 1 apparently, on his way down the start-finish straight, and he goes all right into turn 1, but then, yeah, he's just too deep, and oh dear, gets cleaned up by the number 9 of Luke Patrick, and the number 12 of Josh Chaburek is trying his best to make his way through, but then in comes AJ Roper.
That got a little bit out of hand pretty quickly. Back to live action. Can you believe it here, Reese? We haven't even completed 5 minutes of racing.
Yeah, we've got 35 minutes of racing to go. Lance Keltner is the one leading the way here. He hasn't taken any of his designated driver pit stops, as hearing Luke Patrick going for his second beer at the moment, and looks like, well, okay, so, well, I think he's taken the opportunity to go for a drink here. Technically stopped. He was already over by the time we started that replay. What happened to him? This was, I think I know what happened here. Maybe a bit too deep into this corner. No, actually, he makes his way through all right, but then understeer on the exit. What happened down here?
Probably contact down in 5, or 6 rather. That's Jaburek on his back end into turn 6. And no, he runs wide and then gets it.
Okay. Yeah, this car is very understeery on entry, just because there's so much weight over the rear, and of course the front tire is a lot smaller than the rear ones, so you really need to get the rear end swinging in order to get through these corners. Ben Shout coming through for his second stop and go, being a designated driver. Looks like Corey Godwin also taking another drink. That's going to be his second one, I believe.
I love that unique approach from Ben Shout. Gets into the fence, though. That's not going to be exactly what he wanted. Damage will repair itself. He'll get back going. I do want to turn our attention briefly to Lance Kettner leading the race. Pat Labrosse is closing in inside of 3 seconds now, call it 2, as they run through East Congress Plaza Drive. This could be a fun little battle for the lead.
Certainly could be, and one thing we should point out is that Labrosse has yet to take a drink at the moment. So I think on balance, Labrosse is still the one with the advantage. Remember, he's going to have to stop 4 times to take a drink here. Meanwhile, Keltner, I don't think has taken any of his drive-thrus as a designated driver yet. So I get the feeling Labrosse might lose less time overall than Lance.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the intent of the 6 penalties versus the 4. I feel like these guys, they do this every month, right? And I'm sure they do it a little bit in between. They're probably used to the 4. I feel like that's going to be easier for them than 6 stop-and-go penalties, but maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, there's the element of hazards as well. You do have to stop on the track to take your drink, and this track has no runoff at all, anywhere. So there's a chance that you might get crashed into while you are taking your beverage penalty. If you're just touring through the pits, you might have an easier time of it there.
But it also means you can combine your drink stops into... Oh, is this maybe a stop? Oh. Labrosse continues on. I thought for a second he was pulling over in the drive-thru to get a drink and continue on.
I thought so too, but apparently a little bit of a mistake on the way through the corner. Keltner still holding on to the lead, but tell you what, Labrosse is much faster than him, even with the slight mistakes that he's making. 1 minute 15.89 on the last lap versus a 1:16.7 for Keltner, who hits the wall on the exit of turn 2, and now Labrosse has a little bit of slipstream to work with. Easy does it, late on the brakes, and right on the rear of him, coming through probably one of the most difficult sections of the circuit. Careful not to hit the wall on the inside. That's cost him a little momentum.
If Labrosse has any urgency in him, he's got to get the pass done here in turn 6. Otherwise, he is trapped in behind him for a while, unless Keltner makes a mistake.
Oh, no!
And, well, that looks like a drink stop to me.
Yeah, it was Labrosse who made the mistake, but he's not stopping. Oh, no, he is. No. Just got himself pointed in the right direction. Well, you got to make sure that your getaway is efficient. Stop once more there for Ben Shout. Looks like that's his 3rd of 6. Jaburek continues on, and he's taken 5 of his 6 stops so far. Still owes us 1, but he's getting it all done early.
Here comes Keltner for a drive-through. Perfect timing. Of course, you just lost Labrosse to a crash behind you. Go ahead and take that stop and go and get back on the racetrack. Decent timing.
Yeah, very nice. Well, looks like pit speed limit is not a factor for these drivers. Out they go, and they're getting black flags cleared.
Oh, Labrosse just tangled with somebody. And Hollander just went deep into turn 11, I think. He's stuck between some tires. He'll get back going. Everything is devolving into chaos for a moment as, well, Keltner tries to get back going. We've got a track blocker in turn 11.
Oh, we have 2. That's the number 10 of Larry Haase and Mark Rondo also. And that's at the narrowest section of the track, so they're going to have to be careful of drivers coming through on them. What happened to Haase?
This is Rondo.
Oh, yeah. My apologies. So he comes through, and Haase's already stopped, and he tried to go for the gap, but it wasn't there. Oh, dear. Larry had an Austin Powers, Director Joe Peak saying in the background here. What happened to him?
Caught the wall into turn 8. This is through turn 9. That was one way to get through and got hit on the exit. That's how Hollander ended up into turn 11, way out in the tires. Haase spun around. Here comes Rondeau into it, and it all just got fun from there.
He was trying to get going. But if you spun across the track in such a long car as this, there is no getting through no matter what you do.
And Mark Rondeau had to take a tow. He got hit a couple of times afterwards, so everything just got a whole lot worse. And a brief moment, BJ Fulton has moved into the 5th spot right behind the drivers we're looking at, Matthew Hollander and Corey Godwin. Fulton was much lower in this field for a moment, and we've got a big accident. What is that, turn 7?
Oh, lordy. Wow. Okay, so that looks like a retirement there for the Golf car. Which one's that?
Jaburek, right?
Jaburek, yeah. I think we have 2 golf cars in this session. Number 12, yeah, that's Jaburek. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay, so he got full-on stuck into the wall, and of course he can't get free, and then everyone else trying to come through, he's right at the exit of the corner, and there's nothing anyone can do to avoid him.
It almost looked like for a second they were coming through and trying to help him get unstuck, I'm sure unintentionally, but... Oh, Larry Haas spun around, front stretch.
Yeah, it looks like he caught the inside wall, and he's reversing, trying his best to keep the, well, not forward, but backward momentum coming up. He'll get it spun around by the time they get to turn 1. I'm not too sure what's going on. Apparently we've lost Andrew. I'm not too sure what's going on there. Hopefully we get Andrew Cardinale back in with us, but I'll take us through this incident that's just unfolded there at turn 1. 2 cars coming on through, and number 10, Larry Haas trying his best to get going, as it looks like that's LaBrosse who's had an off at the exit of turn 1 as well. Very difficult runnings here in 4 Drink Fridays as the 3 cars have come together again. Haas, Collins, and Donk. Oh no. Well, they're going to take an opportunity here and maybe get flipped the right side up, but Hank is stuck in the catch fence. How on earth did this happen? So Luke Patrick on the replay coming across the line here. Now, does he come up on this incident? Blind corners at Chicago. No, he got into the wall himself. And on the exit here, well, now he sees a scene of carnage and probably took the opportunity to flip them right side up. But it looks like Hank Donk has pulled it back into the pits. He could not get free of the catch fencing. So at the moment, it's still Lance Keltner who leads the race, but he is taking a designated driver tour through the pits. Looks to me like that is the first of, no, the third, sorry, of his drive-throughs. That looks like some technical issues there for Ben Shout. Getting chased down at the moment. No, that's AJ Roper who's having the technical issues. BJ Fulton then making his way past. So Roper, I think, fortunately, has gotten those technical issues back under control. No, he has not. He hasn't got the car under control either as he goes into the tyre barrier. Keltner still in the lead of this race by 4.3 seconds over Pat LaBrosse, and now it's up to Pat to try and make up the time here on board with our leader through turn 9. This is a very difficult section of the track. You are bouncing all the way through, as Andrew pointed out earlier, and he's got to be careful of cars making mistakes in front of him. He doesn't want to lose any time here to Pat LaBrosse. Easy does it. Coming through the final corner and into the pits once more. That's going to be his next stop here. It's going to be the 4th of 6 for Keltner. And LaBrosse moves on through into the lead of the race. There's a car that's trying to recover out of pit lane, AJ Roper. He was sprawled across the track, but he has managed to make his way out of the lane. But we have a new race leader now in the form of Pat LaBrosse, who is looking as quick as he always has. Got some lap traffic ahead of him, though. BJ Fulton currently running down in 5th spot. In terms of most positions gained so far, Corey Godwin is the one who's up the most, up 6 places to 4th, and I've completely lost track of how many drinks everyone's taken, but you can be guaranteed that everyone will follow the spirit of the rules of this series and take all 4 if they need to, as there's a spin for LaBrosse. Easy does it, and he is actually caught together for a moment with Corey Godwin, and they both managed to get going again nicely. Thank goodness damage is off in this series, but LaBrosse has lost all of that time over Lance Keltner, who's now 8 tenths behind him, and LaBrosse takes the opportunity to take another drink. Good stuff there. get the feeling that might be his second or his third. I'm not too sure. Keltner takes the opportunity to stop in the lane again. Ben Shout goes in as well. Looks like that's the second drink for Pat Labrosse, and the third, actually. He's taken 2 drinks there. That's a very short time to be taking 2 12-ounce beverages. Keltner spins out of turn 1 just in time for Labrosse to come through. Now gently does it. This is another battle for the lead. Only one more stop needed for Lance Keltner to clear his 6 visits to the pit lane. Meanwhile, only 1 drink left for Pat Labrosse to take. So it is a proper head-to-head between these 2 drivers coming through turn 5. That is turn 5, right? Yes, I believe it is. Tell you what, I'm not drinking, but I definitely haven't had enough caffeine today as they're encountering some lap traffic here. That's AJ Roper, but they've had to make their way through. Goodness gracious, John Collins. He was stopped on the exit of the turn there, trying his best to get back going, but there's absolutely nothing anyone can do to avoid cars stopped on the racing line at this circuit. It's a very different scenario to what we saw at Oschersleben last round. 22 minutes remaining in the race, and we are approaching an out-and-out race for victory between Lance Keltner and Pat Labrosse. Luke Patrick has come together with AJ Roper meanwhile, and they've managed to get going. That is the final stop there for Lance Keltner meanwhile. That is 6 stop and goes completed, and he gets up to speed out of pit lane, and he can race to the very end. Nice to see. Will Labrosse take the opportunity here to go for 1 more drink? This is going to be difficult for Keltner, though. He's dealing with the number 5 of Marc Rondeau, who's down in 6th spot at the moment. And right now, it looks to me like we still have... How many cars on the lead lap? 5. Corey Godwin is the last car on the lead lap. Oh, dearie me. Let's see how much longer these drivers can last. Opportunity to take a little breather for me. We have still lost Andrew Cardinale, and looks like he is on his way back in. We should be getting him back very soon so that I can rest my vocal cords. Joe was asking me in the background if Aussies don't have a liquid breakfast. I'm sure some of us do. I tend to avoid that. The last time I had a liquid breakfast was when I won the V8 Super Rig Championship, and I leaned into my Aussie heritage by drinking a VB long neck at 10 to 8 in the morning, as the meme dictates. But yeah, beyond that, I'm not really much of a morning drinker. Tends to ruin my day. 20 minutes remaining in the race. We keep an eye on the number 8 of Corey Godwin as he's making his way through. Godwin, of course, the last car on the lead lap. Pat Labrosse is only a couple of corners behind him, coming through the very difficult 8, 9, and 10 section. And looks to me like Labrosse still has 1 more drink to go again. When does he decide to take it? He currently enjoys a 13-second lead over Lance Keltner, and I think he's just making this this clean run last as long as possible so that he can build up a gap and not potentially lose the lead to Keltner. Remember, Keltner is racing sober tonight, so that's one advantage that he's going to have against Labrosse when it all comes down to it. Just across the start-finish line now, as Labrosse has made his way out of turn 3, coming into 4 and 5 at the moment. Keltner still having issues with lap traffic here. That's Marc Rondeau in 6th place. And a bit of side-by-side contact on the way down the straight. Rondeau does recover, though. Would have been some slight damage to the car, but of course, damage is off in the session. It instantly heals. Keltner will be grateful for that, having just hit the inside wall. coming out of turn 5. But he has made his way past Rondo, as Mark is trying desperately to keep up with him, going very late on the brakes. The drivers all suffering with understeer here. Gently now into the incredibly narrow back section of the circuit. Corey Godwin has decided to take another drink stop out on track. Remember, Godwin running in 5th spot, and he's up for position here. Mark Rondeau moves by, and there goes Godwin. He is done with his next 12-ounce beverage and gets back up to speed with 18 minutes remaining in the race. AJ Roper has taken another stop with Henk Donk as well, apparently making his way through. Actually, no, Donk has been stopped in the pits for a little bit here. Not too sure what's going on for him, but keeping an eye on board here. Donk just stopped. Not too sure how long. It's only been 20 seconds or so that he's been stopped. He's visited the pits 3 times. He's one of the drivers who's not a designated driver tonight. Oh dear. Godwin having plenty of issues keeping the car straight out there. Well, for Labrosse out in the lead, looks to me like 17.8 seconds on my screen anyway. 16 seconds on your timing on the top left is the gap currently for the lead, as this looks like it might be a battle, at least not for position, but for clear track, definitely. Josh Collins, one of the designated drivers, gets turned around by Corey Godwin, and immediately joining the party is the number 12 of Josh Jaburek, and they're going to have some issues getting back going here. Just coming through, Jaburek gets spun instantly as Matthew Hollander made his way through, and it looks like Corey Godwin has taken another drink stop there. I believe that might be his 4th and final one. BJ Fulton has cleared all of his beverages, and will be trying his best to try and get a podium out of this, but he has got a lot of time to make up versus Matthew Hollander, who's currently it looks like nearly 20 seconds ahead of him. In fact, just a little bit more than no, just under 20 seconds. Oh boy. Oh, looking at Labrosse, he's stopped. He is getting back up to speed. Luke Patrick is on his roof behind. It looks like there was contact between him and Labrosse. Looks like Patrick has decided to go back to the pit lane, though he has taken one of his beverages. So he was already on his roof by the time Labrosse was coming through. Here's what happened to him. Oh dear, that's a big slide there, and he actually had an appointment with John Collins in the very small runoff at turn 10. Collins tried his best to get going again, and that's something that's happened a lot here. Drivers have tried to get back up to speed, but in the process, another car's come through and just flipped them over. It's difficult goings here at the Chicago Street Circuit. Pat Labrosse now 12.9 seconds ahead of Lance Keltner, as it looks like we have Andrew Cardinale back with us. Hello, Andrew. There's been some interesting goings on while you've been grappling with your restarting PC.
I can only imagine, and yes, good to be back as we have 15 minutes to go. I see Labrosse is right back where he probably belongs, and I can only imagine, well, there's a drink stop.
And it looks like that's his 4th and final one. Lance Keltner has already completed all 6 of his stop and goes, and Labrosse is going to lose the lead to him here. But now, getting back up to speed, it's going to be a head-to-head between these two. Remember, Labrosse is the one with the pace advantage, but in the process of getting back up to speed, he spun it.
That is huge. And Keltner, if he's already made all of his stop and goes, that is an easy drive away for him now. Labrosse has a bunch of pace, a couple of seconds on Keltner on open track, but old tires, Labrosse just made that mistake. Of course, he's now 4 drinks in. That's going to be tough to make up.
Yeah, certainly is. The gap now out to 20 seconds. Oh, that's a shame. But we shall see if Labrosse can make up the time. Down
And Hollander
into
is now in a pretty good spot. He's only a few seconds back of Labrosse. If Labrosse makes another mistake, if he continues on this trend, Hollander's in a really good position.
Yeah, certainly is. Matthew Hollander, the administrator of 4 Drink Fridays, and he's been the one clearing all the black flags for drivers making their tours through the pits. Take it easy. Oh, that's another spinner there. Hollander just coming through on John Collins, who is one of the designated drivers once again. He's obviously having some trouble getting the car pointed in the right direction. He's just touring backwards at the moment and grazing the wall. In any case, keep an eye here on Matthew Hollander.
Oh, Hank
tries
Donk.
to make up time.
Hank Donk is in the fence in turn 9.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's not the first time we've seen him there. He was in the fence early on and went back to the pits, and now it's happened to him once more. He is not having any luck with the catch fencing here at Chicago.
No, and it seems like he was there for a while. This is the incident, and it was assisted. Wow.
Goodness gracious. Okay. Well, no getting the car out of that, so he's had to take the tow back to the lane. Henk is currently 6 laps down as Hollander has moved up into second, passing Pat Labrosse.
That had to have been an issue. There's no way Labrosse gave that up surely on pace. Sure enough, there's going to be a big moment here in turn 1 in a moment that we'll take a look at a replay of. And it looks like Mark Rondeau was briefly involved.
Yeah, you see Labrosse spinning up ahead there, and Hollander's like, okay, through I go, and into second spot. But Labrosse is now right on the rear of him, trying to get second place back. And oh, if he can keep control of the car, might be able to get it done. But as we've seen already here, it depends on the driver in front making a mistake. Hollander does just that, and they come through on a spun Luke Patrick. Gently does it through this section.
Up ahead, somebody just flew out of the track, and Mark Rondeau's all over the place. He's flying around as these guys battle for second and third through all of the chaos. It's like a scene out of Mad Max.
Wow. Oh, no. There we go. That's once more. Pat Labrosse spun around at a corner, but this time it was big contact with Matthew Hollander that did it for him. And it looks like that's further time that Labrosse has lost, and he's not going to be able to make it up. Look at how far ahead Lance Keltner is.
Wow. Almost halfway around the racetrack where, you know, in turn 1 and turn 6, they're just about the same spot. They both put you onto East Balbo Drive. They are almost to where they can see each other at that corner.
Yeah, very much almost there. But the cockpit of the Nissan GTP is so low, I don't think they'll be able to even see over the concrete barriers. Keltner currently negotiating some lap traffic here. AJ Roper, there was some big tech issues for him, and oh dear, that's a spun car there. Luke Patrick once again. Patrick has been having a very tough time, and it's a spin for Lance Keltner. That's some of the gap gone. Oh no, he's in the catch fence. He's in the catch fence.
And he's stuck, just like so many other drivers have been. Was that?
Oh, no.
I'm trying to figure out who launched him. Was it Ben Shout? No?
No.
It was Ben Shout.
Yeah, it was actually, yeah. Wow, okay, so he was trying to get back going, and, yeah, just, I mean, this is the thing about the Nissan GTP, right? I remember an event some time back where people were running a pro truck event and they wanted to put jumps in the track. So what they did was they got a bunch of drivers in the GTP and told them to line up side by side to act as a ramp. That's something we're seeing with rear-end contact with these cars, that the car behind just gets launched because the front of the car is just a wedge.
Like I said earlier, it's a cheese wedge with wheels. By the way, it was the 07 of AJ Roper that actually sent Lance Keltner moonborn, if you will. Keltner is now still taking his toe back to the pit lane. Hollander is suddenly in a position to win this race, and LaBrosse is trying to close in. Never mind, he goes through the crashing 15. That's going to slow him down some more as Hank Donk flies into whatever corner that was, and LaBrosse has another speed bump on his journey to try and catch the number 69.
Yeah, certainly does. Oh boy. Well, it's still 6 seconds only that is the gap. So Hollander, with 8 minutes to go, all he has to do is avoid errors and avoid spun cars in front of him. Just as I say that, Luke Patrick at the apex of turn 2. Tell you what, I've commentators cursed quite a few drivers in my time, but I think I have an excuse here. It's just an absolute graveyard of cars out there. Oh, there we go. Patrick once again in the wall, and LaBrosse will move on through. The gap is down to under 5 seconds. It's approaching 4 seconds now. Look at how smooth LaBrosse is compared to everyone else out there. I mean, he's 4 drinks in, but he's still driving pretty well.
He really is, and I'd imagine he's got probably the best tires of anybody in this field. I think Keltner maybe has done less spinning in his race so far, but Keltner, I think, has also been pretty abusive on those tires, whereas LaBrosse has been a lot more smooth, as you say, and Hollander certainly has got some more tires as he sends the 07 of Roper. That got a little bit hairy there through the final corner, now across the start-finish line, and they should have just a few laps to go.
Yep. Oh, easy. Easy does it. Matthew Hollander right behind AJ Roper now, and
sends
a little bit of a bump. Yep, sends him into the wall. And LaBrosse just avoids getting into him as well. Oh boy, we have got a true race on our hands now. 2.6 seconds is the gap between Matthew Hollander and Pat LaBrosse for the race lead here. Both of them have, I think, completed their designated drinking. I don't have a number on Hollander, but I do know LaBrosse has cleared all of his beverages. Actually,
you know,
has
Reese.
He? Oh, I don't see it. Oh, yeah, he has. My apologies. Go on.
You know, it would be an interesting little strategy for Hollander if he was to send somebody into one of these tighter corners, a lap car in particular, and give himself a bit of a track block for LaBrosse behind. I mean, superstitious maybe could work.
Almost doesn't need to do it. I mean, Ben Shout going for a spin by himself there in front of LaBrosse.
LaBrosse has found every kind of situation in his way that he possibly could have in this race, it feels like.
Yeah, he certainly has. I mean, from you know, going for a big crash early on and quite a few incidents, and that's going to add another one to the tally. Corey Godwin being got into coming out of the second corner and having trouble getting back up to speed as well. Spins while trying to recover. So what happened to Godwin here? Looks like we have another car making their way through on him. I mean, the closing speed is just so large. That is actually Matthew Hollander. So, yeah, Hollander spins him around and LaBrosse gets right into him. This is exactly what you were talking about, Andrew.
And that was far from intentional, for sure. Godwin just a little bit slower through the corner, and Hollander trying to do his leader thing and take his leader pace through the corner. Got into him briefly, and especially in this car, just like any open-wheel car on the surface, you make the slightest bit of contact, nose to tail, and that kind of thing is going to happen. That, though, is a big deal for Hollander. Where is LaBrosse? He's also crashed in turn 11.
Oh, wow. Well, at least he has the runoff area to work with. But
he's gotten stuck in the runoff.
Oh, no. Yeah,
he'll get back rolling, but he nosed it into the barrier.
Yeah, well, regardless, damage immediately heals, so he'll be fine from there, but that's just ballooned Hollander's lead out to 11 seconds with only 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the race. Keltner, meanwhile, we can confirm has retired, unfortunately, after his appointment with the catch fencing. He is disconnected from the server. So we say goodbye to the driver who led the race for quite some time. Now, it's a case of whether or not Hollander can just keep it nice and smooth. It's only going to be something around 4 laps remaining in the race, including this one. So if he can avoid spinning, he might just be able to keep it ahead of Labrosse.
And Hollander currently rather, has some clear track up ahead. The next car ahead is going to be John Collins, currently in the final couple of corners. So if Hollander can just keep doing his thing here, he's in a decent spot. And even ahead of Collins, there's not much lap traffic, although there is hanging from a fence somewhere. The amount of times I've paged through the field and found the 15 hanging from a fence is
yeah. He's in a very compromising position as well. Oh dear. Number 9 of Luke Patrick comes through and smashes another car. All right, let's see what happened here with the onboard of Corey Godwin.
And this is on Jaburek and then a 12 car.
Yes. Yeah, this is for position, actually. So Jaburek just misses the apex by a country mile. Oh, wow. All right. So got into Luke Patrick there. Patrick was already spun, and he is still on his roof as we speak.
And there's no avoiding him. If you track out wide through, turn 7, you're going to be out into Patrick, and Patrick now gets hit by one car. That's made it a slightly easier obstacle to avoid. Here comes your leader. Looks like Hollander right on by. There is not much room to get by.
No, there's no room at all. 3 lanes wide, and that's a road car. This machine is a darn sight wider than you would usually expect. So at the moment, the lead 10 seconds right now, closer to 11. 1 minute and 52 seconds to go in the race, and looks like with Hollander crossing the line, that's going to confirm 2 laps to go. That is, if he doesn't have a spin that costs him something like 30 or 40 seconds.
Yeah, he's not completely out of the woods just yet, but Labrosse making up 11 seconds in 2 laps is a pretty tall ask. Thankfully, these guys have plenty of time back to Fulton, just in case things get a little bit hairy. Fulton even has a lap back to Ben Schout in the 4th spot, then Godwin in 5th. So these guys a little bit spread out as far as time against scoring goes, but a lot yet to happen in this lap and a half or so for our race leaders. Hollander down to turn 6 this time, and he's got some lap traffic up ahead. John Collins in that orange number 20 is just up the road. He's in turn 7 now. Not much space between these two.
Immediately spins, does John Collins as soon as we point him out, but Hollander makes his way through cleanly. Looks like Labrosse is just putting the gap down here. He's going to be relying on a crash for Matthew Hollander at this point, but looks to me like Hollander's keeping it relatively clean. Change for position between Jaburek and Godwin, meanwhile. Looks to me like Godwin has spun on the back stretch, but across the line with 30 seconds to go, Matthew Hollander leading the race. Labrosse trying to take as much out of the track as he possibly can to make up what is now an 8-second gap in a single lap.
It's a tall ask, but there is a slow car ahead of Hollander. That is Corey Godwin, it looks like, in turn 6. Larry Haas is up the road, BJ Fulton. But I think Hollander's got enough clean track ahead. This should just be a nice, easy cruise back around. I don't see much trouble up ahead for him at all. Corey Godwin is the only car concerning me in any way.
Yeah, it looks like everyone else just trying to get to the flag here. So through the bumpy turn 6 and then turn 7 where the track narrows up something fierce. Really get a sense for how wide this car is looking at the lane markings, and a little bit of a spin there through turn 9.
He can back it down now. He's got 7 seconds, 2 corners to go. He can just chill. Oh, got the wall.
Just be gentle, Matthew. 1 more turn to go for the number 69. And it looks like Matthew Hollander is... Oh, he's going to spin! Going to spin out of the final
has crashed at
corner!
11. LaBrosse has crashed.
Oh, he's safe. He's safe.
For now. And
Yeah.
yes.
There we go. Well, Matthew Hollander wins the next round of 4 Drink Friday here at the Chicago Street Circuit. LaBrosse, he's going to be ruining that final mistake there. He could have gotten the lead on the run to the start-finish line if that hadn't happened, but still, second place for our pole sitter.
And LaBrosse was just trying to get something extra, looking back at the replay on my end at least. He was just trying to come through the last couple of corners with as much speed as possible. Turn 10 got him. The re-entry onto East Congress Plaza Drive. Just caught the bumps. That car took off, hit the inside wall of the McDonald's drive-thru, and that was all she wrote.
It was indeed. Corey Godwin making his way to the finishes. We're going to step aside briefly here on the Global SimRacing Channel. When we come back, we'll have our official race results and interviews with drivers. Well, 4 Drink Friday at the Chicago Street Circuit ended up going to Matthew Hollander, keeping the car clean where it counted. Pat LaBrosse unfortunately falling down in the final half of the race, 14 seconds behind and the only other car on the lead lap. BJ Fulton gets third place with Ben Shout and Corey Godwin rounding out the top 5. Josh Jaburek, we saw him crashing plenty of times, 3 laps down along with Mark Rondeau. AJ Roper and Larry Haase in 8th and 9th. Lance Keltner rounds out the top 10, retiring from the race. And, well, he still finished ahead of John Collins, Hank Donk, and Luke Patrick, who round out our field 8, 10, and 11 laps down, respectively. Wow. Well, it was certainly a chaotic night here in 4 Drink Friday, but we can welcome our race winner, Matt Hollander, to the commentary box. G'day, Matt. Goodness me, that was certainly an interesting one.
You can say that again.
Yeah, you were one of the drivers to immediately get away at the start as we're checking it out on the broadcast feed now. It was all about survival, all about avoidance here.
Well, I mean, with these city tracks, I mean, it's so tight and these cars are pretty wide and pretty unpredictable when the turbos kick in. So I figured, get away clean and enjoy the drinks at the first spin, and I guess it worked out.
Certainly did. It wasn't without its dramas for you, though. You ended up getting involved at turn 1 with a bunch of cars at the rear of the field. Did you think that you would be able to come away with victory, considering Pat LaBrosse's pace at the front?
No, I mean, Pat's pace was amazing, and, I'll give a shout out to Pat for that little bit of bump coming into the last corner before the straightaway taking him out. But kind of told him, hey, if you caught me again, I'd let him by. But I think he had some unfortunate things happen in the back there, but it all worked out. But that's racing. We're out here to have fun, right?
Exactly, and victory is yours, Matt. So we send our congratulations to you, and hopefully we get a chance to talk to you again soon.
Hey, I look forward to it. And I appreciate you guys broadcasting this. For the last 3 years we've been running this league, it's been quite a lot of fun. And invite anyone that wants to come out and come join us. Look up for Drink Friday on the Discord channel.
Absolutely. Make sure to get in there if you are so inclined. That's Matt Hollander who has joined us there. And Andrew, it looks like you've lined up a chat with Pat LaBrosse, who finished second.
And Pat LaBrosse, by every, I think, definition of the word, was dominating through the first two sections of this event, practice and qualifying. LaBrosse, though, when the race got going, initially things were calm for you, and it all kind of went downhill from there. What happened from your perspective? What happened there in the midsection, and why couldn't you get back to Hollander?
I just made too many mistakes. I had a couple spins, spun myself out coming out of one of the beers, and was kind of put me on the back foot, and then just pushing too hard and made a bunch more mistakes after that.
And by pace alone, you had a couple of seconds, it seemed like, or at least a second and change on a lot of these guys. Is there any one particular thing that you would go back and change to take better advantage of that?
Yeah, stop crashing and dying.
Well, how challenging is it? I mean, I'm sure you guys get pretty used to taking 4 drinks in the course of 40 minutes, but how challenging is it to go through that? And of course, the effects thereof for the remainder of the race and continue being smooth. I mean, even late in the race, you were driving pretty nicely, but how challenging is it to do that?
It's super hard. This is only my second race with these guys, and the end of the race is like super messy. It's really hard to kind of keep it together and stay focused and hit your brake markers. Is like you're hitting brake markers that are 2 car lengths past where you're supposed to brake, and you're just messy. It's really tough.
Well, Pat LaBrosse, only your second race, P2 tonight. Hopefully we're talking to you one spot higher next time out. Certainly got the speed for it.
Thanks, guys.
Pat LaBrosse, P number 2, Reese, says a really strong effort out of him, just ahead of BJ Fulton.
Yes, well, BJ Fulton finishing third, first car a lap down, but you managed to get there in the end.
Yeah, I have no idea how I came in third after towing twice, but, somehow it happened. Everyone else had a lot of incidents too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, having to tow, were you one of the cars that got caught in the catch fencing? That seemed to be an issue for quite a few drivers tonight.
I went straight over the catch fencing into the grandstands and the very first lap. I hope the crowd's okay, but that was the first tow, and the second one I just ended up on my lid somehow.
Right. Well, regardless, you managed to survive. How was the car around here? It's obviously a very firmly sprung machine, this Nissan GTP, which certainly doesn't work well with the bumps of Chicago.
Yeah, exactly. This thing was absolutely insane to drive around here. That turbo kicking in late when there's tons of bumps, it was incredibly difficult to keep a handle on, and that's probably how I ended up third, even with 2 tows, I guess.
Yeah, you managed to keep it consistent. You managed to get third place in the end. The bronze medal is yours, BJ. Hopefully there's another one down the line for you.
Yep, hopefully.
All right, big thanks to BJ Fulton for joining us, and that is going to be all of the podium getters down and dusted here for 4 Drink Friday. Andrew, wow, another fantastic round, and certainly can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, it's a far cry from Mazda's Osterschleben or, I gotta think, Pro 2 trucks. That's what I'm trying to get at Laguna Seca. But this is a fun combo. It really was. And a really challenging car at a really challenging track. I'm looking forward to what comes next in a month's time. It's always fun with these guys on 4 Drink Fridays.
Absolutely is. Big thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts on the screen. Huge thanks as well to June Lalonde for providing our wonderful music. You can check out her Bandcamp for more of her great work. The next round of 4 Drink Fridays is in a month's time. It's going to be on the 24th of November. They're going to be racing the NASCAR truck at Road Atlanta Short. Of course, upcoming broadcasts listed on the screen as well. Next up on GSRC is going to be the Grand Prix Legends Series, Series, 9:30 a.m. Eastern. It's going to be a fun one in the Lotus 49s. Make sure to like us and follow us on all of our social medias. You can also get merchandise on gsrc.storenvy.com. Reese Gardner here with Andrew Cardinale and Joe Peak behind the scenes. Race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.